Brandon J. Clack in here in 5,
3, 2, 1. Let's see his canal. There he is. What up, though?
What's up, man?
I knew you'd have on a hoodie, so I rocked a hoodie tonight. Normally, I'm in a denim jacket or something, but I said if Brandon's wearing a hoodie, I'm wearing a hoodie too.
I'm just glad we don't got on the same one.
We would have been twinsies for real. We would have been the biggest set of twins you ever seen in your life.
Well, listen, hands down. I'm just glad we got a little individuality going on here.
Just a little bit. Folks are still coming. Hey guys, shout out where you're from. Cincinnati's in the building. Uncle Clack, they're calling you Uncle Clack already. Lou, what up? This is so cool. Just folks just representing where they're from. They're all posting Jordan Lucio, James D. Cloud. I mean, everybody's in the building, man. Jerusio, what is that? Jeruso. Simply Songbird, Black History Maker. People are coming up in here because they're interested to hear what Brandon J. Clack has to say tonight, fam. So here's the deal. I'm hyped. I'm hyped because you're my boy. But really, this is just a glorified conversation between us. We have a lot of – how many conversations do you think we have a day?
I would say anywhere from 3 to 5, possibly.
Yes.
On a normal day, I guess.
On a normal day. So we're going to attempt to have 3 of those in front of people and leave the other 2 to question in the room.
Smart move.
Dude, I had Aaron –
social media.
Fam, I had Israel up here. I got overwhelmed. I got excited, man. He started singing a little bit. It's a new season. And I just didn't know what to do. I just didn't know what to do. So we do the faction together, our wrestling podcast. Shout out the founder and the valedictorian, GB Gerard Bonner. Let's start there. You and I met because I came to San Antonio and we met at a random Fuddruckers, which you have to be very careful to say Fuddruckers. And that makes you say Rud, and so it messed it up. So, like, we met each other because when we got there, we were the only brothers in the building. So what did we do that all brothers do? We sat beside each other. It was like, hey, you got my back, I got your back. But we started talking, man, and that was like in 2014, I think.
Yeah.
And here we are. You're one of my closest friends to this day.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Never would have thought that Terrible Burgers would have brought us together.
I actually like Fuddruckers. Funny story, I used to work at that Fuddruckers.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I worked there my sophomore year in high school. And the day I got hired, I went in, and they asked me to go unstop a toilet. And I didn't mind it, but when I went in there, all I saw was 2 small feet and a tail sticking out of the toilet. That was coming up. That's what had stopped it up. And when I saw that little mouse.
Rat? It was a mouse?
All I know is when I saw it, I left my apron in the bathroom and I walked home.
So you literally worked at Fuddruckers for one day?
One day. When I saw it, I walked home. I didn't even say goodbye. Nothing.
I worked, but we're coming clean. I worked at Dillard's. I don't know if you remember Dillard's. There's a department store called Dillard's. I worked at Dillard's for one day. They told me, hey, Courtney, change that whole wall out. I went to lunch. They're still waiting for me to come back. It's about 10 years ago. No, it had to be longer than 10 years. It was longer than 10 years. About 15 years ago.
At least when I left, there was some type of rodent infestation. That you just left because you didn't want to hang up clothes.
You didn't see the amount of clothes they wanted me to hang up.
Nah, there's no excuse for that. You owe Dillard's an apology, and I feel like conviction should set in. No, I feel like you should stop being prideful. I think conviction should set in, and you should apologize.
Not apologize.
We got too many preachers that won't apologize. I don't want you to be in that number, okay? I don't want you to be in that number.
This is not the faction. This is what happens on our wrestling podcast. People tune in to watch us argue the whole. This is not the faction.
Courtney is prideful. I just want to say that. I'm going to expose you. Courtney's prideful, and yeah.
You know, if you say it in a certain tone, people are going to start writing #prideful.
Yeah, let me stop. You end up on another show.
But you've already been on other shows. I mean, remember, you had that one epic message that you preached. The devil.
It's the truth. He is.
But what was the line you said? What was it?
The
What was
devil
it?
is a goddamned liar.
But when you said it quicker than that, and so it sounded like it all just rolled together. Okay, I know you have theology for it, but is that a true fact? Is he really?
If he's not, we're in trouble. Not damned, and he gets to run free. Oh, we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
Who damned him then?
God did. I don't have the authority to do it, and I'm grateful that he did it.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna blast him because I want him to still love me afterwards. I called a theologian mentor of mine, and I asked him, am I wrong theologically? If I'm wrong, I will apologize theologically. He said, if you apologize for that, you're gonna have to apologize for the blood. You're gonna have to apologize for the virgin birth. He said, don't you dare apologize for it. You're just gonna have to understand you said something that jarred everybody, and it is what it is.
It definitely.
So when he told me that I was theologically correct, I was all right. I could weather the storm.
It definitely jarred the world, fam. And somebody says, I see your Anwar gear. Yes, tonight I'm rocking my All Nations Memphis gear. Shut up, devil. I wore this shirt to the Black History Museum in D.C., and I got so many styles. People, they were like, where do I get that hoodie? That day I started selling them out my trunk. I have a trunk full of these hoodies.
Wow.
Yeah. I just said, hey, lady, it's mine. I came up with it.
Do you know how many DMs I get per week about that hoodie?
Really? People want this hoodie still.
They want it like crazy, and I just be like, ... Just
bro,
hold on.
I love what made you start saying shut up, devil?
I felt like one time while I was preaching, I felt like he was taunting me on things that God was not going to do.
Whoa.
And it
the
just
enemy was
slipped
taunting
out.
you while you were preaching.
Oh yeah.
So you mean to tell me that when you're doing the work of the Lord, that doesn't mean that you're absent from being taunted?
No, I felt like in that moment he was trying to decrease my faith to limit my proclamation. I think that there was something that I was about to say or something that I was scratching into.
Yeah.
That was about to cause mass freedom. And I could feel a conflict in my heart on the truths of the Word of God. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, instead of saying it in my head, I screamed it in the microphone. And it just took off.
It just took off. You have a knack for that. You have a knack for these colloquialisms, these statements that just take legs. Like it's like you say something and people grab a hold on to it. Where does that come from?
I think the real foundation is probably from color commentating from wrestling. I remember Gorilla Monsoon. I remember Mr. Perfect, Rowdy Piper, JR. Those guys would say these one-liners that would add so much flavor to the content, and it reminded me of those movies. Like, for instance, I don't know what it means today, but back in the late 80s, early 90s, Gorilla Monsoon would say, "What a hit to the breadbasket."
Yeah.
And it was a punch to the gut back then. I don't know what it is today.
Right.
But
we don't know what the breadbasket is today.
It was a punch to the gut then.
Right.
And all that did was it just elaborated the move for me. And that was, I don't want to tell my age, but that's 20 some odd years later, and I still remember what a punch to the breadbasket is. So I think that's kind of where it started.
Hey, we're going to talk wrestling for a quick second. If you are a wrestling fan, you've ever been a wrestling fan, write your favorite wrestler in the comments real quick. I want to see who some of your favorite wrestlers are. Write those in the comments. Clack, don't start this.
Anybody that is connected to Brandon
God.
Clack, do me a favor, participate in this. Just think of whatever wrestler comes to mind. I don't care who it is.
That's not what this is for.
Thank you, AJ.
This is not. You're using this platform wrong. This is not what this platform is.
It's gonna be a
People have not tuned in to see us argue. They tune in on Wednesdays to see us argue. They've tuned in to see us be brothers tonight, and you are demoralizing the platform.
Goldberg,
AJ Styles.
That's Gerard Bonner. He don't count.
Your wife wrote Batista.
That's because, never mind, I ain't going to expose her. I know why she wrote Batista. She don't count either.
Let me ask you this. Being married, has your wife ever watched wrestling and was watching for a different reason than you were watching?
Absolutely. That's why she put Batista down there. You old lustful devil. Come out of
Yeah,
her.
see,
Name.
it happened with me too. I was watching Randy Orton one time, and my wife was watching Randy Orton for a different reason than I was watching Randy Orton. And I was, wait a minute, I
Man,
turned
look
it
at
off.
these names, Courtney.
I
It's
see.
golden era and attitude era. Jordan,
Okay.
my photographer at our church, just put Stone Cold. He told me he hadn't watched wrestling in 12 years.
Okay,
Look at this.
but also,
I hate that you're wrong in public. I hate that for
someone
you.
just wrote Eugene up there though.
Tara just said Stone Cold. She don't watch wrestling.
Someone said Macho Man WCW. You're
Nobody
missing the whole. Lenny Harris II said Lex Luger, and you know that we all have an
Attitude
affinity to Lex Luger. You can't call Lex Luger Attitude Era. Conor McGregor. Someone wrote Conor McGregor.
John Cena.
So look,
Eugene.
Eugene, come on, AJ. You and I, we both watch wrestling because we actually get something out of wrestling. What age were you when you started wrestling? My mom wrote Wahoo McDaniel, but she literally wrote Wahoo McDaniel. What age were you when you started watching wrestling?
I watched it with my grandmother, and age 6. I know exactly where I was. I know the first match. I know I'll never forget it. Age 6 with Willie Mae Anderson.
Willie Mae, that's my sister wrote Junkyard Dog. So now some real wrestlers are coming out. So why do you like wrestling so much? What is it about it?
It reminds me of a time. Right now, my parents are divorced, but it reminds me of a time when we were all together. My dad.
You didn't just break that news, did you? That's not breaking news, is it?
No, they've been divorced since I was a freshman in high school.
Okay,
now,
good.
I mean, I guess it. Whoops. Well, they ain't got Instagram. They'll be fine. Oh, wait.
Okay, good.
I think my dad does. Well,
Lord.
I might get a call later. What's wrong with you? Anyways, it was a time when we all used to watch wrestling together. So he used to get pay-per-views, and he would make a big deal about it, those wrestling pay-per-views. And it was especially because I was like really sick growing up. So my mom and my dad and my older brother, we would all get pizza, or he would get burgers, or he would get wings. And although my mom and my older brother at the time didn't like it, they saw how happy I was. So we all jumped in. And then it kind of bled over, and then we would go to my grandma's house. And then it like turned into this family thing. Then in the summer, my cousins would come on. They used to live in Lagos, Nigeria. My cousins and my aunt would come on. And then it was huge.
Yeah.
So it was on in multiple rooms. We're running back, high-fiving. Did you see that? So it was a huge thing for me from age 6 to about age 18, 19.
Yeah.
That's 13 consecutive years of every month, a gigantic pay-per-view with at least 5 to 6 family members.
Get $50 a pay-per-view too back then.
13 years solid, straight.
13 years solid. So when I met you, I was shocked to find out you were a wrestling fan. So we had preaching in common. We both kind of grew up in a Pentecostal-esque type era. We both.
Mine wouldn't ask. Mine was Pentecostal to the bone.
Now, how Pentecostal were you though?
Doilies, long skirts, rolling on the floor, casting out devils.
Wood chips on the altar?
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah, if you walked in and there were wood chips on the altar, you weren't leaving if somebody threw up.
Nah, we didn't have the wood chips. I do remember one time, I had to have been younger than 10. Shirley Caesar came to San Antonio. The name of the church was Greater Lincoln Park Temple. Bishop William Ellis. He retired now. His son is pastoring Morgan Park in Chicago. And I'll never forget it. Shirley Caesar came, and they ran out of space in the sanctuary. Sanctuary seated about 700-800. Ran out of space in the sanctuary. They sent all the kids over to the fellowship hall. When we get in the fellowship hall, no lie, this is what Kids Church was like for me. She said, I ain't got no games, and I ain't got no crayons. But what I do have is the Holy Ghost. Who wants it? Take him or go to hell. And I said, well, I don't want to go there. I said, all right, lady, what do I do? And she got in my ear and clapped, and got in my ear and clapped. And at first I was like, this is stupid. But at some point, something happened.
At some point.
Something happened. Yeah.
I got what we call filled with the Holy Ghost at the altar. My friend Jakeith Henderson.
Jakeith, what a name. My God.
Jakeith Henderson, they asked after church which one of the teenagers wanted to be filled with the Holy Ghost. Keith went up there. I was so angry he went up there because we had sin plans for later. And so he went up to the altar, which means I had to go to the altar. And after about 10 minutes of clapping, my life was changed forever. Do you think there's still space for that in church today?
I'm not saying this based off my preference. I'm saying this
Mm-hmm.
based off of the culture and the climate of church today. I was from that, and even if it's not this, I think they just shy away from the Holy Ghost, period, because
Wow.
nobody wants to be socially X'd out of what the general community says is the norm. And the problem is, Pastor Courtney, is that the Holy Ghost is not the norm. He never will
Not the
be.
norm.
He
Never.
never will be. Something will inspire you based off of obedience to him. Peter, yo fam, if we're going to pay these taxes, put your hand in a fish's mouth.
Yeah.
Now, we love each other. But look, in a fish's mouth really did say it to us. We would be so afraid of what people would say. The coin couldn't manifest because it only came there because of the faith.
Do you think fear robs us of being able to see more that God really wants to do in our life?
I think so. Fear and something else I'm scratching into organically as I'm just journeying in my own life and studying some things. I think it's fear, and I think it is the depths of disappointment.
Ooh.
I think disappointment is a bottomless pit. And I think that
I
when
agree.
an individual expects God to do something and he doesn't, we redefine who he is. And when we redefine who he is, we set up a new level of expectations that protect us from that free fall again.
Ooh.
And then even worse, I think we base so much of the superpower inside of the man with the microphone that if something happens to him and he makes a mistake or he does something that we don't approve of, or he walks by us and doesn't say hello, or we feel like we don't get to walk in with the special man when church starts, and all of these weird ideas that we put in our own heads, I think it's like a bear trap hidden underneath leaves, waiting to snatch and ensnare people, dragging them down to a pit of disappointment. And I think that's worse than fear, in my opinion.
No, I would agree with that, man. I think about, fam, one of my favorite scriptures is hope deferred makes the heart sick. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
That front part of that scripture. And I really believe that. I think that when people feel like they have hope deferred, if they aren't careful and they don't start pouring hope inside of the wound, that they'll find their hearts becoming sick and they'll become bitter. They'll become unpleasant to be around. Their dreams will become toxic. Their words become toxic. They become toxic. How do you actually fill that with hope? What do you do when you feel like you've been disappointed? How does hope begin to fill that hole?
I think the only way out of that hole and that void is obedience. And it sounds a bit like an oxymoron, because the individual who has been disappointed typically does not want to obey. For instance, if you give me the wrong directions to a restaurant, I'm not going to obey your instructions to the next restaurant.
Right.
Because I feel like you gave me the wrong directions. Even
Oh boy.
if you sent me on a route that's much longer and I got there later, if I feel like you don't really know what you're doing based on the route that you made me take, I'm cutting off communication from your counsel. And I think that happens with God a lot. I think we see a better route in our heads. And when God takes us the long way, because the long way, there's so many uncertainties and unknowns on the long way,
Yeah.
I think we decide to X out communication. And we just say, whether it's right or wrong, at least I have my own particular brand of peace of mind. Only problem is that it's impossible to please the Lord without the vulnerability necessary to lean on him in all aspects of life.
Vulnerability. That's a word that in 2020, it's better to be to fake vulnerability than to walk in vulnerability, is what most people think. They think that vulnerability is an expensive currency. And I do think, I live by this thing, tell your story, but don't tell your business. But what is it that a person, how can they be vulnerable in 2020 with the Lord? What does that look like?
I think it does look like your organic, individual, private relationship, following his pace. But I would like to just suggest a more common pace and it would be a pastor. And I know that most people have decided that the pastoral grace, or just even the spiritual leader type grace, is unnecessary. You know, there's a Miriam thing that is sweeping throughout. At least I think. A few weeks ago, the Lord told me, you won't be fighting Jezebel. You're going to have to deal with Miriam. Civil disputes. Miriam, I think Miriam got in trouble, not only because she bucked against Moses's decision, which broke his own law based out of who he was going to marry, but Miriam got in trouble because, number one, she said, I hear from God too. So I don't got to run everything by Mo. He wrong. And then I think she got in trouble because she took that heart posture and presented it to Aaron.
Yeah.
And she infected the number 2 with the I hear from God too. And I think at that moment, if I'm correct, I don't have it in front of me, but I think at that moment after she said it to Aaron, God was like, yo, both you ninjas, meet me outside this tent. Yo, Moses, come out here. Yo, Miriam, don't you know I talk to these prophets in dreams and visions, and I talk to them in smoke screens? What would make you so confident you could talk bad about Moses, even if Moses did break the law? I don't care what Moses did. What made you feel like you could say that? Leprosy.
Coronavirus.
And I think the restoration in God's delegated authority will increase faith and the ability to be vulnerable in God's presence. I really do.
So we both were raised in church, and I know the answer to this, but in 2020, man, why are you still a Christian?
I feel like Peter, you hold the words of life. Where else can I go? I've tried everything else. Everything else has tried me. And even if you make some decisions in my life that I don't understand, that's the context of that verse. He told everybody, yo, unless you drink my blood, eat my flesh, you have no part with me. A bunch of people left Jesus that day because of a lack of revelation. And Jesus turns and looked at Peter and says, you out too? Which I kind of feel like somebody on this particular conversation listening to me now is that if people can't understand your obedience to God, you need to turn to them and say, you out too? But anyways,
Woo.
Jesus looks at Peter and said, you leave it? And Pete says, I don't really know what you're talking about with this whole flesh and blood, but I do know that your words are the words of life, meaning I need to consume this. Peter was making reference. I don't really know how to eat your flesh, but I do know I need to eat what's coming out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And I'll starve if I leave you. Where else will I go? And I kind of feel like that. Even if God does something in my life that I don't agree with and I don't understand and I can't get him to reverse or explain, where else am I going to go?
Woo.
Now, that's not for everybody. I'm an
Yeah.
extremist, you know.
You are. Well, let's talk about that. Guys, in the comments, do me a favor. Who is the person in your life that when they talk, when they say something, those words begin to speak deep inside of you and you just start leaning on those words? Who's that person in your life? Shout them out in the comments. While you're shouting them out in the comments, I'm going to move here. If the NBA Finals were to finish, the NBA playoffs, who are you choosing that wins the championship?
The Lakers.
Without a doubt.
No doubt about it. No
They
flinching.
can beat the Clippers. They can beat the Clippers in 7.
They can beat the Clippers in 6, in my opinion.
Who's going to have to check? Who's going to check the people on the Clippers? I mean, who you got? Who's going to be up on who?
I'm going to have to put LeBron on Paul George. And I'm going to throw a myriad of defenders at Kawhi. I'm going to do my best to try to wear him down. Yeah. But the X factor is Anthony Davis. I don't think they have anybody that can stop him.
I'd agree with that. I would absolutely 1,000,000% agree with that. You see the names popping up. People said PC, Pastor Clack, Pastor Ramsey, Apostle Stevenson. People are just naming names, and they keep naming names, and I'm loving what I'm seeing down there. So here's the thing. people don't realize that you are actually a retired basketball player, former athlete.
Former, definitely.
Well, how do you know you're former?
I'm coming to grips with that now. It's definitely former.
What happened that made you come to grips with the fact that it's former?
Signs and wonders from the heavens below.
Such as what?
Above.
Such as what?
I think there's just a moment where revelation kind of hits you. You know, you're a former something when you try to organically do what you used to do, and it doesn't have the same effectiveness. At that moment, you're a former something.
That makes total sense. Are there any examples you can think of that proves that you are a former athlete that you don't have it anymore?
Yeah, I would probably say the current size of my stomach at its current condition. I would probably say the current accuracy of my eyes. These are not fashion glasses. Those are real glasses. Ones. These are real glasses. I need them. So, yeah, I would say when you're no longer effective at what you used to do organically, you're a former something. If you don't believe me, ask Samson. He went to shake himself, and he was a former killer of men with strength. And it wasn't there. He didn't have it.
He didn't have it.
Yeah.
You and I talk Kobe Bryant a lot.
Yeah.
We love Kobe Bean Bryant. Kobe Bean Bryant died. We both felt it deeply. Our group chats were somber. We've had a lot of talks about Kobe. We approach a lot of things with Mamba mentality. You and I talk about Mamba mentality a lot. Mamba mentality is not just a person, I think it's a principle. Would you tell me what you think Mamba mentality represents?
Mental toughness. Mental toughness. I try to raise my children with one of these core values. I want this to be a pillar in my children's life. And so I expose them to this frequently. If I call you out about something and I tell you that you suck at it, I don't want you to throw your life away thinking that I don't believe in you because I told you you're not good at something. If I tell you you're not good at something, that has nothing to do with how I value you. It has everything to do with an isolated lane that you aren't doing well in. So like if my kids don't do well in school and they fail a test or something like that, I don't subscribe to maybe what some of the American parents or parents across the world, no shade to them, it's just what I don't do. We're not having a party for second place. I'm just not doing it. And because I don't want to raise my children to accept a lower standard of success. So even my baby boy, who is my prized possession, if he does something stupid, I'd be like, no, that ain't funny. Why would you do that? That's not an accomplishment. Let's celebrate things that matter so that when you get older, you won't turn into a thirst trap trying to get applause because you posted a bicep or my girls don't have to feel worth by wearing a bikini. And although that may get you some attention, if that's a win for you, you have no value system for winning. I think if I'm thinking about in Kobe context, I think a major part of why he was who he was is because people could probably walk in his life and say, sit down and shut up. Don't do it like that again. And he didn't walk away and leave, and his feelings weren't hurt, and he didn't have to wonder, am I still valued? Do you still love me? You want to know? I probably shouldn't be saying this.
No, just say it. No one's watching. It's okay.
Well, hilarious. One of my pet peeves is if I have to correct something, and I brand this on my children. If I've got to correct something in an individual, and then they go away and they die, and they're like, I'm worthless. You don't love me. Oh, I'm so sorry. I done ruined everything. If I got to bring you back to life, correction. So Paul tells Timothy, yo, fam, I got to pull this knife on you because where we're going to minister, you can't have foreskin. I'm sorry. They're going to ridicule you. And Timothy wasn't some baby. Timothy was a grown man. And Paul says, hold still. I got to get rid of this unnecessary off of you. What I think is amazing about it is not that Timothy endured the pain. It's not that Timothy didn't cuss him out. Timothy held still. I'm a grown man, and I'm going to let you cut this off of me. So I tell my children, if I get on you and I correct you, in 6 minutes, I'm coming back to your room and saying, do you want to watch SpongeBob, Noah?
Yeah.
Does anybody want to go and get some Sonic slushies? And if you have an attitude, no. If you do me like that, we're going to have a bigger problem. Because that tells me you equated your value to the thing you did wrong. Now I got to dig inside of you psychologically to understand, why do you value answering questions wrong with bad study habits? So let's talk about that. Maybe you're lazy, and your father needs to tell you to your face so you won't be out here embarrassing my last name, doing stuff thinking you sweet at it. Some days I just be scrolling through Instagram, and I just want to just call him on the phone and say, that ain't sweet. That's not dope. Sweet. I'm sorry. I love you. This does not mean that I don't love you.
Yes.
But that looks weird. You want to know something? I don't know how to dress myself. Now, I know that sounds comical to some of you. I don't know. I am confident enough in myself for the things that I do well to identify what I don't do well. Right now, my stylist is probably looking at my presentation and is saying, do not tell them that I put you in that. Because this does not match the standard of the things that he puts me in. Yeah. I put myself in this, and it shows. But if I'm going somewhere, I'm going to trust the counsel, the wisdom of somebody else. One day I was doing a photo shoot, Pastor Courtney, and he made me put my foot, size 13, in a size 11. Yeah. And he was stuffing my foot in there like a biscuit. And I mean, that thing was flaring up, and he was knocking the skin down on top of that thing. And I said, this hurts. And he said, fashion hurts. And I said, I hear you. What he was saying to me is, you don't have to wear this shoe forever. Yes. But for where you're going, squeeze into it now, and we'll find your size later.
Where you're going. I think that's the tension right there. You and I have a lot of conversations about people not being emotionally healthy. You know, I'm big on emotional health. I'm big on emotional health. I'm big on emotional health. And the tension is I cannot allow you to have two separate sides. Either it's celebration or isolation. Those are your only options. You have to have something in the middle. You and I talk about that all the time. How can a person who lives on both sides, without talking to you every day, without talking to me every day, how can they begin to live more balanced?
I think they got to start at the place of understanding what they are good at and what they're not good at. I think that's a healthy place to just say, I'm not very good at this. I'm not very good at listening. I'm not very good at taking direction. I'm not very good at being told what to do. I'm not a very good driver. I'm not a very good driver. And I found emotionally healthy balance that when I get in the car, I just ask my wife to drive. Yeah. And I used to mask it under my size, when the truth is, I can actually fit in the driver's side. The truth is, she's a much better driver than me. And because I'm not a good driver, I just, I give it over to her. But I think the starting line at the healthy balance is just being honest with yourself. If you're going to lie to everybody else, cool. Just don't lie to you.
Yeah. Man, I think one of the healthiest things a person can do, bro, is go to their most trusted friend or even their pastor and say, could you tell me some hard truths about me that I may not want to hear?
They'll never do it. In my opinion.
You and I do this all the time.
Well, we do it, but I don't think the general public will ever get to that point. And get to that point without silent resentment 25 minutes later. See, I get that question all the time. Just give me the hard truth. I just want to know. Please just tell me. And in 30 minutes, you're ready to jump off a building. So I reserve it. I don't.
So I've had people hit me, and it's the weirdest thing, and say, "You and Clack have such a great friendship. You guys are like bro goals," which I cannot stand the term bro goals. I have no clue what it means.
I'm going to
It's
practice
just
self-control right now about how I feel about bro goals.
it's all just so weird to me. But you and I know that friendships don't come often. What makes this friendship work?
I think we are brutally honest. I think we give each other space to say things to each other and not judge their character off of a moment.
Which we have.
I think that might be the strongest pillar in our friendship. And if anybody is lonely and has no friends, and you're looking for a friend, you need to find you somebody that you can have a bad day around, and they won't equate your bad day to bad theology or just being a bad person. A bad day can be an isolated incident where I'm not my best right now, and I'm saying crazy stuff. And I don't mean what I say, but you're not going to hold it against me, write a blog about me, a Facebook post. You're still going to, you need a friend that when you say something, it stays between the two of you.
That's the strength.
I think that's one of the major strengths of our friendship that we have.
I can call you and say crazy stuff, which I say, you may say crazy stuff more.
I'm about to say, I probably have had a few. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question right here. Would you rather that people could hear your thoughts, or would you rather they read your group chats?
Which group chat?
Anyone they want.
Whew. Read my thoughts. No, I would rather them see my group chat. Yeah, definitely the group chat.
If you had a superpower, would you rather be able to fly, or would you rather be invisible?
Fly. I already know how to be invisible.
Okay. Break that down.
There is a way for the protecting of my heart where an individual can be present and safe. And I think that's the beauty of being invisible. I'm present, but I'm safe. I'm here, but you can't hurt me.
So
and most people that hear that, I'm telling you right now, my generation equates that to being fake. And I don't, because everybody can't have every side of you. That's why you're so fractured in your little baby soul right now.
Come on.
Because you give everybody every side of you, and you've got to be able to tell the difference between Aaron, her, Miriam, and Joshua. Come on. You've got to be able to tell the difference. You got to be able to tell the difference between Peter, James, John, Matthew, Pete, Mark. You've got to be able to tell the difference. And if you are just consistently, I'm real, and I give it to them all the time, like this, the way it come out. And that's why you've had 8 jobs in the last 3 months. Or 6 churches in the last year.
Oh.
Because you think everybody's talking about you, and I'm saying you need selective conversations. You need to put a guard on your old germ-filled tongue. You know that white tongue that need to be scraped and that tongue that looked like one of these whites. yeah, tongue that look like this. That's good. You too many crackers. You got cracker salt on your tongue. And if you would get control of your mouth, and here's the truth. People struggle with getting control of their mouth because they're not used to being heard. I'm going to expose your goddaughter. I had to check Nyla the other day, and here's why. Me and Zion were having a conversation, and I was talking to Noah a little bit too, sprinkling him in there. I was not talking to Nyla because I don't have to have a conversation with Nyla every time I'm talking to Zion. This is my individual daughter. You are my individual daughter. And you'll know when we have collective conversations. I don't have to mix and match relationships. She needs to have something with me that you don't. Watch what Nyla did. Nyla, no lie, starts blurting out stuff. Ha ha, ha, stupid. Ah. She just starts blurting stuff out. Here's what I did. I said, hold on a second, Zion. I said, Nyla, I said, you want to be heard, don't you? She said, nobody's talking to me. I said, it's not your time to talk. I said, you are coming over into a lane of conversation that has nothing to do with you. You have got to, and I told her to her face, in front of her mama and her siblings, you have got to have enough self-worth that if you aren't being heard right now, that doesn't mean you won't be heard. Wow. I said, don't be that eager to talk that you got to interrupt somebody else's flow that ain't got nothing to do with you. And it ain't just 13-year-olds that struggle with that. I know some 21-year-olds or about to be 21 or about to be 31 or about to be 41. I know some grown adults that if they don't get a chance to express themselves, I'm telling you, some kind of way it's going to start bleeding out. Social media, blog, sex, I mean just going to the club, some kind of way. Because I don't have enough self-worth. If you don't let me express myself, I'm going to express myself somewhere.
Yeah.
And before you know, you got corona on your tongue.
Got corona on your tongue. Corona on your tongue.
So this is why I don't go live no more. Because I be saying stuff, and it just comes across too sharp. And right now, somebody in their living room right now saying, he got a problem with me. And I'm like, the comments are going so fast, I didn't even know you was on. I
didn't even know you were on.
I guarantee you. Especially because it's so small, I really can't see. It's just blurred. It's coming on. I don't know what it's doing on your phone, but I guarantee you, somebody gonna call me at 9 o'clock and say,
"Did I offend you about me? Did I offend?" I
didn't even know you was on. The comments are going too fast.
What people don't realize is that when we're having these conversations as communicators, we're not thinking about an individual. We are seeing in our brain a type of a person, not an individual person.
Absolutely.
So everything is not always about you. But man, when you are unhealed, you have no clue. When you're unhealed, that thing is always about you.
Can I go back to something and then I'm gonna give it back to you? You mentioned you asked the viewership about who speaks and something comes alive in them.
Yeah.
I am concerned. I don't even know if I should say that. I probably should have called you and said this, but I feel like I'm already out here now, so I'm kind of stuck. This only lasts 24 hours, right? And then I'll go away. Okay.
Sure.
Great. I'm concerned about the new opportunity that this media. What I mean is the phone, the communicator, and the masses. And if I could, I don't even know if I have the right or even the reach, but if I could, I would encourage communicators across the globe that if you're going to hit the live button, your presentation is important and your speech pace is important. But if something in you does not grab people in their couches, in their workspace, if something doesn't happen to the heart of the hearer that says, this is not a message, this is something that's trying to pull me out of a pit, you're not going to really find it in words on paper. You've got to have time in the face of God when you can come down the mountain like Moses.
Come on.
And your face shine, and the people say, something about you grips us. Keep your veil on. And my prayer for communicators all across the world right now is that they would have a direct connection with some power. And I'm not trying to scare anybody and say Pentecostal power. I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm just talking about, do you have the keys to unlock the chains off of my mind and we not even have coffee? I'm telling you, Pastor Courtney, the guys that can do that will suffer no loss. If we hit the live button and you grip me, and even if I wanted to scroll something, this is how you know you're in there. When something comes in, you immediately hit the decline button because you don't want to miss.
Yeah.
Whatever that guy has, he gonna win in this crisis.
I feel like that's what you have. I'm your boy.
We'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm your brother.
but I watch your YouTube clips all the time. I put them on repeat.
You watch one YouTube clip.
I watch it over and over again. I watch it on the plane. I watch it when I'm driving. I put it all around the house. It's my favorite YouTube clip.
Yeah.
Because you say these things, especially in the middle of these praise bumps, that just get deep within. Now, you know my favorite one. My favorite one was when you were preaching in Huntsville for one Adrian Davis. That's my favorite one. But then there's one on YouTube that I just really like because I do. When you grab your jacket and you stretch that jacket, I know Donnie gets mad. When you grab that jacket and you pull it as far as it can go up from you, and there's a war going on between the material of the jacket and the reach of your arm, I know we on and popping in. You want to know why? You want to know
why I grabbed that jacket?
Why?
It's because that particular outfit, Donnie said, the jacket goes with the outfit. I need you to focus and preach with the jacket on. I said, say no more. I got you. Here's what I tell Donnie, and this is probably going to shock everybody, but it's just because I believe in submission. I said, in every other area of life that God has called me to, you know, you're going to probably submit to that. Donnie's probably the most submitted thing I have around me right now.
Yeah.
And he's not a yes man. You know, he'll tell me when something's stupid or doesn't make sense, but he's
and
submitted.
Does.
And I told Donnie, but in this lane, I don't have authority. I have no authority in fashion.
Yeah.
If you say keep the jacket on, I'm going to keep the jacket on. Well, that thing got good to me. And I was pulling it because I said, I can't take the jacket off.
Right. I can't take it off. But so I'll just grab it and make it work.
Working it.
I consider you one of, and we probably have about 10 minutes. I consider you one of America's greatest preachers right now. I really do. No, I've said this. I tell the world that. And people always think I'm
you my boy. You my boy.
Yeah,
you gotta say.
But I'm not saying it because you're my boy. I'm serious. I watch you preach, and because you have gears that no one else has. You have this downward shift that you can do that I just don't see. Where did you first experience that at? Like, is that something that you were able to experience in someone first?
Yes, I got exposed to it. I got exposed to it in 3 places, and at each place, at the entry level of being exposed, it was almost like then it mutated into my own thing. The first place, 937 West Magnolia, William Ellis. He had a gear, and then I got exposed to it. I did nothing with it, but it grew on me. I know that now. And then the next place is World Harvest Church, and I spent years with Pastor Parsley. And I ain't gonna lie, I was about to panic today because I couldn't find the notes that he used to throw away in the trash, but I found them today. And
time out, pause. Pastor Parsley came up on the show last night. I had Israel. He came in and started writing in the comments. Way cool. 2 nights in a row, he gets a shout out. You just mentioned some notes that you have for him. We have 8 minutes. Tell us why you have notes from this man.
At the time, I was so desperate for revelation. And I think I still am. I was so desperate for revelation that his trash was my treasure. And my wife used to work in the office. And I was listening to him one day preaching on a CD. And she said, oh, I saw those notes in the trash can. And I said, in the what? She said, yeah, it was in the trash can. He was done with them. I said, do me a favor. I sent her back to the office that night. She had a key. I said, go back to the office and go get those notes. I need everything he throws away. And here's the reason why. I didn't have to talk to him every day. We talked every day. He just didn't know it. I felt like it was my job as a congregant or a son or whatever you want to call me. I felt like it was my job to make his job easy.
Come on, man.
If you just vomit it out, I'll grab it. I'll grab it. I love God enough to work with God to figure out what he showed you, because I know God one day may want to show me something. And so I didn't do it out of idolatry. You know, I just did it. But he has a gear. He had a gear. He has a gear. And then the third place is, which I think to me is the one that probably puts his foot on the gas like crazy right now, is Dr. Stevenson.
Yeah.
He has mutated over the years. I've known him 4 or 5 years, something like that at this point. And he's mutated, and I've watched his gears and what he puts pressure on, and what he presses into. And so I pride myself on being a student and a sponge, because I want my pastoral figures to be able to stand before God and say, Brandon Clack made it easy on me.
John Murray just said it. Are the authorities watching? Because you just made Christabel a part of theft by stealing content.
I wasn't preaching his messages. I was eating them.
Christabel, your wife just wrote up here just to keep us responsible. She said, actually, it was a recycle bin. She didn't want people to think that she dug through the coke. But you and I just did a conference for our friend Joel Tubman. And one of the things that we both landed on was, if you want to grow, you have to be willing to dumpster dive out of the place where you want to grow from. I think too often people get around their mentors and they talk too much. People get around their mentors and they become chatty. They want to. One of the first things I tell someone who comes around me is, don't try to impress me. Because I am, and this sounds crazy, I'm really not interested to know what you know. I want you to know what I know. Because when I go around other people that I'm grabbing from, I want to know what they know. And you can get to the point of talking so much about yourself that you didn't grab anything from this valuable place. Do you think that it's needed for people to be quiet when they get around mentors?
I have asked God, and I'm sure this may turn into something, and if anybody that loves me is watching, make sure you write this down so I can make some money off of it. I have asked God to show me the difference between networkers and next workers. There is a difference. If you come in my space and I sense a networker on you, that you're just trying to climb up my back to get to the next level, I'll be able to tell. There's a few questions that I ask. I'll never say them out loud. Never, 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 because then people will know my secret sauce. But there's a few questions that I ask that will tell me immediately, am I looking at a networker who just wants to bro me or dock me, or yo, I was with Clack? That's one thing that I really watch as well. I know it sounds funny, but if I meet somebody and immediately it's like, yo, I was just with Clack, I'm like, I can't give you my brain. I can give you a part of my heart, but I'll never give you my brain. Here's what it looks like. Hey, oh, there you are. You'll get that, and you're gonna feel amazing. I'll never give you my brain. Never. No. So yeah, there has to be a difference between a networker and a next worker. Oh, I can always pour into next workers, people that are willing to do what's next, get groomed for what's next. But yeah, I'm telling you, if you don't decipher between the two, you will drown in someone's presentation of impressing you. Bro. And that sucks, especially for people like me that have limited time.
Limited time, man. I always tell those around me and tell my team, which this show happens because of my team, that I want to go to heaven empty. I want to go to heaven knowing that I've poured out everything and I've opened as many doors as I possibly can. I want to be a door opener for so many people. Let me give you this thing right here. What are you excited about?
I am excited about the development of my children, naturally and spiritually. I don't have a whole lot of spiritual kids. You know, some of my friends got 30s and 40s. You know, there's all kind of stuff. But you know, I'm excited about some of the opportunities to build that I have in front of me, and I'm excited about meeting Vince McMahon one day.
Ooh, heck yeah!
I just feel like that should happen for me. I'm excited about just some major purchases that I'm about to make.
Yeah.
And so I got some things, and I'm not a Debbie Downer because I try to be optimistic, but I reserve excitement for important stuff.
Wow.
So that I'll always know the difference of what to invest my emotions into.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Man, listen, we're going to end it with that one. It's 7:58. Instagram Live cuts us off at about an hour. Is there any last minute thing that you want to just share with everybody before you go there? Any last minute clack attack you want to lay out there?
Yeah, don't OD on Hulu and don't OD on Netflix. All of it is good, but have some space where God can tell you what to change.
Ooh, that's so good. Man, you my man, 100 grand, fam.
My dude, anytime.
I got you tonight, man. This is so good. We're probably going to talk a little bit later. Thank you, everybody. Hey, do me a favor. In about 5 minutes, I'm going to put on my Insta story, what was your favorite moment of this conversation? I need you to go up there and write it in there. Maybe it's some things that Brother Clack said to you. I didn't know if you was going to go up in there with me. And so, and maybe some things that he said. I want you to say that. Delete the part about my goddaughter, Nyla, my godson, Baby
I ain't
Bonner
playing
was
with
in
none
here.
of them.
I know. Leave her alone. Leave her alone. Baby Bonner asked me, God, what sin plan was that? Baby Bonner, go to bed. And so, and so tonight's been cool. Tomorrow, Brian Courtney Wilson, Brian Courtney, I'll just say yes, you lead the way. That's going to be great. You want to sing something for the people before they leave?
Go to YouTube.
You are singing. Wait, stop. Your podcast,
Bye.
Game Changer, Season 2, Kiara Sheard, YPJ. Who else is there? Kev on Stage is up there. Who else is on Season 2?
Prepare your ears. These conversations are extremely raw. Okay?
Go directly to the one with Kev on Stage. If you're married, you're going to love it. If you're single, best of luck to you. Follow me at I am Courtney Beard. I'll see you tomorrow at 7. Brian Courtney Wilson. Next week, I got guests. It's going to be crazy next week, too. See y'all. I love you, fam. Y'all are absolutely amazing.